you know, because when you first start coaching, you listen to National Wake Up Call and they're always like, all these things. And you're like, what the hell does that even mean? And you can never imagine yourself, like, even if it's team call, being introduced in that way. So it was kind of surreal. So thanks. I'm super excited. And I am a former accountant and I like PowerPoint. So I made a PowerPoint. I tried to keep it's very brief in the PowerPoint, more to give me notes. I can share my screen, right? So let me do this. All right. So after talking to Brooke, who is incredible and did an amazing job on my team call, thank you so much. One of the things we talked about that some of you guys might need to hear, or just in general, is some mindset or some shifts that I took to go from basically a struggling diamond on the, you know, on the rocks to 2-star and, you know, beyond, where I feel like elite is for sure happening for us this year. And even just our ranking blows me away because I can't, that's just, it's, you know, all the team effort and basically things have gotten crazy. And like she also said, in that time, in the last, my twins will be 2 on Sunday. So to say that like these last 2 years have been easy would be just a complete lie, because they've actually been some of the hardest years of my life. But coaching was honestly, and has literally saved me over these last 2 years. It's not easy having twins. And I actually feel like this age that they're at right now is like some of the hardest. But I want to go like way back in my story and just give you just some perspective on who I am. And so I actually got introduced to Beachbody in 2011, which was obviously a really long time ago. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and we discovered P90X. I had never done a home workout program, and I had yo-yoed with my weight forever. I struggled a lot as a kid with being overweight and being insecure. And then into my 20s, it became even worse. And it was just like, I learned to lose weight, but I was very disordered in my habits and going on extreme diets and, you know, restricting and then partying on the weekends and just really unhealthy habits. I always had really low self-esteem. I was not someone, maybe on the outside, I maybe came across that I didn't as much, but I just was not someone I ever thought anyone would look at me and think I was fit, or that would want my advice on anything related to health or anything. I always did like to work out, but for eating, I was the worst. I honestly thought that I would have to starve myself to be thin. And that, I think I read in like a magazine, like Jennifer Aniston's, like what she ate in a day. And I was like, screw that shit. I'm not eating that. Like, I can't. And so I just had like a lot of, you know, like self-limiting beliefs about what health and fitness honestly was. And my husband and I did P90X, and thank God for him, because he was my first accountability buddy, and we went all in together. And this was I didn't use Shakeology, or maybe it had just come out, but we just went all in with the nutrition plan and with the programs. And I pushed play every day. And at the time, I actually started a blog to like talk about going through this. Because I'm also, even though I'm telling you that I'm not super into fitness, I also we decided at this time, my husband had done an Ironman. So he rubbed off on me in the sense that like he was really into endurance. I had done a half marathon. So we decided to train for a full marathon and also do P90X. So we were just totally crazy and had a lot of apparently free time on our hands to do these super long workouts. But basically, I got the best results in the world after 90 days by going all in with this. And I just proved myself wrong in so many ways. First of all, I was eating like a ton of food, but I was losing all this weight and gaining all this muscle, feeling better than I'd ever felt in my life, just like crushing through all those, like, I just had so much confidence at the end. I was able to do like 30 push-ups and like, I think I did like several pull-ups, and I'm like a taller person. So like a lot of like pull-ups are hard for us really tall people. But I just had then I went and finished the marathon. I went on to do an Ironman with my husband. It's just like, honestly, P90X changed the trajectory of my life. At the time, I actually was a coach very briefly, but I didn't get into it. I was one of those coaches who signed up and like, you know, didn't do much with it. So fast forward, I'm actually also in the P90X infomercial because my results were so great. So it was like that life-changing. But at the time, of course, people were asking me what I was doing, but I didn't take coaching seriously. And so it ended up fizzling out, and I got into running and got over it. And then I had my daughter, and I gained quite a bit of weight, and of course was worried that all that weight was going to come, you know, I wasn't going to be able to lose it and all of that. And so I got connected with finally with a challenge group and with 21 Day Fix. And so I got into it. I decided, you know, people again were asking me what I was doing, and I have, or like I said, I had this blog and I continued blogging. I love writing, and it was kind of a passion project for me. I never did any marketing with it really. I had a Twitter account and I would like promote it on Twitter, and I just did everything wrong. Like in retrospect, I look back at like those early days of blogging and like social media the same as like a new coach who comes on, because like I just shared my journey. Literally, I just blogged about like what I was doing and what I ate and what workout I did and my results. And like literally no one read it at first. And then slowly people started reading it like day after day, you know, and then people started searching for P90X results, and they would find my results, and then they would find me. And this was all just kind of organic, or it was all organic. And that's the way that also just coaching works. And I don't know if you listen, like Melanie Mitro talks about this all the time on her podcast, The Women Inspiring Women. That's one that I listen to a lot. And she just talks about that same thing. It's just like consistency and just showing up and sharing your genuine journey and adding value. That's just what I kind of did through my blog. So unfortunately, this kind of kicked me in the ass when I joined again as a coach after I had my daughter, because now I had a blog. I had a following on like 1,000 followers on Instagram. So like a decent following for that time in 2016. And I would post about my challenge groups on social media, and people would join me, and I didn't have to do a lot of invites, and I would hit Success Club, and that was great. But basically I didn't do any of the things you need to do to be a successful coach, but I would get by with like this decent you know, side income, right? Basically. So as I wrote here in my coaching story is like, I was a hobby coach, and I relied a lot on what we call attraction marketing, which is just being online, showing, you know, showing up, inviting people publicly, but I wasn't doing a lot of the private invites. I was though, because it's just my personality, connecting, forming relationships, adding value. So I was doing all of those things. But I was letting a lot of my fears hold me back about multi-level marketing and coaching and what other people thought about being a Beachbody coach. And while I was super proud of the programs, I honestly just was not putting myself out there in terms of inviting to coaching. I was not talking about coaching really at all. And when I did invite someone, it was very like timid, like maybe you'd want to do this, but if it's okay if you don't, but like, and I would only really invite like challengers. And so I had some coaches sign up through this. But because I had those fears and I didn't really know and I honestly, because I had relied so much on attraction marketing, I thought that my new coaches would just also sign up and just post on social media and get people. And so I didn't really know how to mentor them either. So I honestly really struggled with this for a few years, and it was like my ambition honestly was a lot higher than the results. And like, even though, like I said, like she said, I hit Success Club every month, just the team wasn't going there. And so there was many times in the early years where I'd be like, oh, well, if I don't have this many coaches by this, if I'm not diamond by this date, I'm going to quit. I'm just like, I had this like all or nothing attitude, and I just didn't have, I even had like a friend or a girl on our team after this past summit. She told me that 2 years ago at Summit, when we were there in New Orleans, she was like, you weren't that into Beachbody then. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Yes, I was. I totally thought I was so into it. I had so much fun at Summit, and like, but she was like, I don't know, like, you just didn't seem like you liked it that much. And I was like, it honestly was like a wake up call for me. I was like, I think I had all these limiting beliefs about what it was and what others would think of it. And I wasn't all in back then. And that is why I was struggling so much. I just wasn't all in. And really it was when I got pregnant with twins, and then during my twin pregnancy, I created like a Facebook community for women who were pregnant. And that was a really great way to build more relationships. And I just shared my twin pregnancy a lot, which is a great niche. So just the more niche you can get with even as you're a mom, like what kind of mom are you? like, are you a mom of 3? Are you a boy mom? Like even just getting more niche with that just helped like connect with so many twin moms just in a genuine way. But my husband got laid off when I was 7 months pregnant with the twins. And that was just like okay, like what the heck are we gonna do? Because I knew that this business could do something. I knew that it was making me a decent side income of over like $1,000 a month. But I was like, I know, like I was the person listening to all the wake up calls, listening to all the trainings, and then being like, why am I not successful? Like I just didn't know what it was. And it's like, I mean, Brooke mentioned this on my call too. It's like you make a decision to go all in. And it sounds silly because I literally would used to laugh when people like at Summit, I feel like at Summit, everyone would be like, I just decided. And then I went all in and everything is successful. And now I'm a millionaire. And you're like, wait, how do you just decide? I don't get it. But then once you actually do it, you like know what they're talking about. Because I think that's what happened is I was like, okay, I'm doing this or I'm not. And I'm not going back to work. I was in accounting and I was like, I cannot go back. So I just went all in. So I just wanted to quickly, if you might already know this, but I know sometimes like newer coaches come on and they're like, what the heck is 2-star? So I just wanted to quickly say that why 2-star? Because I'm the accounting nerd. So I like everyone on my team's always like, Nicole, how do you like, what does this mean? What's the compensation plan? Like I know every single thing about the compensation plan and all of that. So if you have any questions at the end about the compensation plan, you can ask me because I probably know the answer. So getting to 2-star is a huge deal. And a great thing about 2-star is that you get a quarterly bonus, assuming you hold it for 6 weeks in the quarter it's about $800 to $1,000 a quarter, which is pretty good. And then it also qualifies you if you've made the other qualifications for Premier, which you get recognition at Summit. And then if it's your first time hitting 1-star, you get to go to New Leader Conference, which is where I got to meet Brooke in person. It was awesome. I'm sure she told you guys all about it. And it just kind of feels good to know you're a leader of leaders. Like to get to 2-star, like you've kind of like arrived in the sense of like, now this is like the first significant leadership rank where like you've duplicated at least one leader, because most people get there with their husband and hopefully one working coach. But the second CBC is the most important thing. And this is particularly important if you have an upline coach who's adding people under you. And so you have a strong leg. I don't have an upline coach adding anyone under me, but because of the way that I had built my husband's account, he had so much carryover volume that my income has almost doubled in like 3 months of adding a second CBC because of I'm cashing out all this carryover volume that he had. So if you say you're under Brooke and she's just like adding all these coaches under you and you have them all sitting there in this carryover volume and maybe under your husband too, by adding that second CBC in the right place, which would be on your husband's weak leg, you can cash out like so much money. So getting to 2-star is like as important as possible because sorry if this is this is getting too detailed, but when you get to 2-star, you add the second CBC like under your husband. So basically if you add a coach under your husband, under your second CBC, and that person sells a challenge pack, not only do you get you basically cycle in 3 places. It's like a ping pong ball. So then the more CBCs you have, the more you cycle over and over just from one sale. It almost doesn't even make sense like how Beachbody even makes money off of it, to be honest, but it's awesome. So get to 2-star. So these are the shifts that I made and that to basically get from like struggling, like I can barely be, like I might lose my diamond any day and I did lose it twice, to becoming a leader on. Now I have a team that has many working coaches. People are hitting Success Starter. That's how we're ranked high, is partially because of Success Starter, and people are hitting Success Club. We have great, we have momentum. And I just, for years in the beginning, I literally was like, I just want a team. I just want like someone to care and like ask me for advice, and no one, like, I really wanted to build my own team. And it seems like you guys have a great culture. And I had a great culture too, because I'm part of a larger team, not Diesel Nation. I'm part of Diesel Nation, but me and 3 other women on our team are leaders in a team called the Fit and Balance Tribe. But in this last few months, I've created my own team, and we have our own, now we're like, most of us are runners. So I named our team Run the World. like the Beyonce song, and which now I'm going to play at the beginning of all our team calls. I'm inspired. But ever since I created Run the World, I've felt so much more connected to my team, because it feels like it's like it's us. Like the Fit and Balance tribe was like, I was a member of it, but I wasn't all my people. And now it's like, they're my people. And I feel like you guys have that already, but it was just such a big deal for me to like finally come into that team. And it's just super rewarding. So the first mindset shift that I made, and this is earlier on, was you want to become a leader before you have a team to lead. So don't look at the past and think, oh, I've brought on coaches and they've quit or they haven't been successful. If that means I'm a bad leader. Or, because I know I did that. I remember like, oh man, just, you know, bringing people on. I had one girl in particular who like, she was so open at posting on social media and she had a great transformation, but then she would fail. And I remember asking her, oh, do you mind if I see your business activity tracker? And she like freaked out at me and was like, I had this limiting belief that I was micromanaging her or something. And it honestly, like really kind of hurt me for a while, because I was afraid to help people because of that. And it's like, you can't let like the past, like I said, past predict the future you. So just, if you want to be a leader, make sure you're doing the things that leaders do. Like show up for all your team calls, ask your coach if you can be on a team call, even if it's just doing announcements or something, and like go to Super Saturday, go to Summit, mirror what you would want your future coaches to do and show up basically. I recommend, like, I don't know how you guys do your info sessions, but like start either joining in on the coach info sessions or doing them, because that's what I did early on. We used to have a call and I just said like, hey, I want to be in the info session call. And I found that once I was actually in the call, I felt like this huge obligation to actually recruit to the call. And so that just made a big deal. I've always hosted my own challenge groups, but I know that there's people who are just like piggybacking on their own coach. It's like, start your own challenge groups, be part of team calls. So the next mindset shift I made was, this is like becoming a CEO. And I know this is also probably something you've heard, but this means that in the beginning, I was just explaining this to someone, like what changed is, in the beginning, this was a hobby, right? So I would show up on the days that I wanted to. And a lot of times I would recruit for my challenge group and I would do quite a few invites, or I would post on social media quite a bit, like leading up to the challenge group. And then I'd be like, okay. And then I would go about my life and go like, do all these other things and like barely do any, I'd like maybe do some social media posts, but I wasn't taking it seriously. Like I wasn't looking at the month and saying, okay, if I want to have a challenge group, now I run it. So my challenge group's on the third Monday, and then I have an info session at the end of the month, which leads me into a new coach training at the beginning of the next month, which helps those people lead into a challenge group. You know, I'm like more strategic. Like I schedule out my months and my days. I look at it as a business, and I do all the things on the business activity tracker, not just the ones that are easy. So that's why it's important to have some kind of business activity tracker. Otherwise, you're like so tempted to just do the things you like. Like, I know that I used to just scrolling Instagram seems like you're doing something, but you're not really, you're working, but you're not really working. It's like sitting down and doing those power hours and having that business time. Another thing that was a huge game changer for me was creating systems. And so this has been huge for duplication, but also for my efficiency. And like I said, as an accountant, so that's my thing. But systems, I learned how to create these through, I think I might have put it on the next one I did, but I went through Bob Heilig's Legacy Leadership Academy, and he's actually offering it for free right now through the end of the month. But I went through this last year, and he teaches you how to create better systems for your business. And this is huge. Like I created a Google Drive for our team, and like I created like a new coach onboarding system, and just basically making it so it's duplicatable for not only you, so that it's easy. Like when someone signs up as a coach, I know email 1, I have go out, email 2, I have go out. And then my coaches also, when they sign up a coach, know that they have a system in place, and they can send that exact same email I sent, so that they are able to grow their team and feel confident about that. So it's like the more systems your team can create that are duplicatable for the rest of the team, the better. And that's something that you have to be thinking outside of, this is just a hobby and I'm doing, you would only create a system if you're going to be a CEO. And the last thing for this is just like thinking critically, like, don't just follow the tribe. Don't just follow what Brooke does just because that's what she does or what the other person does. Like, think who you are. And I've always been true to that. Like, I'm a runner, and I like very much pride myself on being very different for a Beachbody coach. And I get this a lot. I have people all the time reach out to me and say, you're not like other coaches. And I don't know what exactly that means. I just know that they think of me as different. So that's a good thing. They come to me and they want to join me because I'm different. And that's because I am a runner. I incorporate running into Beachbody, and through my blog also helps that I am able to share like hybrid like programs with any like running and Lift4. Like I have a program like that. But those are like, that's me thinking like, okay, I know that most other coaches, like there's no other coaches really doing that. And if I wasn't thinking for myself, I wouldn't have done that. And the same with, I use Pinterest for my business, which not very many people do. And it's just like thinking like, what's going to work for me? What's going to work well? And then kind of analyzing, it's also the analyst in me, like what is doing well and what isn't doing well. Like when you do a post, does it like completely flop? Does anyone, like, I try to like, now I'm looking more at things like, does anyone save my post on Instagram? Does anyone share? I'm like, I had a post that people shared the other day and I was like, oh, that's a big deal. Someone shared it. That means it's like good content, right? Just like throwing out the same stuff over and over, just thinking, not throwing out the same stuff over and over, thinking what's working, what's not, what do I need to adjust? Like, is my audience getting bored? Just kind of thinking of your business as honestly outside of just you, if that makes sense. So the last mindset shift that I made was I decided to be an elite coach. I remember it was on 2000, and I'm not an elite coach yet, but I am in progress. I am acting like an elite coach. So I remember it was the beginning of 2019. So I had my twins in April of 2018. And so it was like the end of that year, I started really ramping up and like, you know, getting into recruiting, setting bigger goals, recruiting more coaches, having more momentum, putting those systems into place. And then it was like, I was like, finally, I'm like, I'm going to be an elite coach. And Brooke said this on my call. She's like, you need to say your goal out loud. And it was so freaking scary to say that I was going to be an elite coach in last year, which would be, I guess, 2020 elite coach. Because I was like, I'm barely diamond, and I want to be elite. And I set that goal. And that's a lot of what attracted me to Brooke as an accountability partner. So like, you did what I wanted to do. I want to be partners with you, right? I'm not intimidated or scared away from someone who, you know, is better, has done it before me. Instead, I'm like, I want to learn from you, right? So I put it on my calendar. I remember that first Monday on January, I put it on my I said, become an elite coach. Like, I was like, I'm going to become an elite coach before I'm talking about the January in 2019. So like not this January when I would have gotten the call, a year before. So I basically just said, this is what's happening. And I went all in. I stopped being nervous about the coaching opportunity. I started sharing it more. I started learning, and I failed forward. I totally, like, I had this girl, this is my story for scaring people away. I had this girl join, this is in that January. She joined, she's like, what's about coaching? And she had a good amount of followers. I was a little intimidated by her for some reason. Like, I was like, why would she want to join me? And then we had coffee, and I like spent all this time like courting her. And like, we became like, I was like, she's going to be my big coach. She's going to take me to the top. Like, this girl, like, I was just had my dreams like set on her being like I had this limiting belief, honestly, that one coach could like change my business. And so I thought she was going to be the one. And so she was like, okay, I'm all in. Since she had a lot of followers, I assumed that she just understood how social media worked and she would be fine. And so we had this like coach push group starting, and it wasn't like rank based. And so I was like, I'll just throw her in that. I threw her in all these things. And she literally quit like 2 days later and returned her challenge back, which I think I've only had 2 people ever return a challenge back. And she's one of them. And it was like, I just remember it being like, when she told me, she at least told me she was going to quit. Sometimes people don't tell you. And I was just so devastated because I was like, this was my girl. And I scared her. I knew, and like, I had to step back and be like, okay, I scared her away. Like, I need to learn from this. So it's like I failed forward. I realized, okay, no matter what anyone says about where they want to go with this business, do not give them too much information too fast. You do not want to scare them away. It's like the worst thing. And investing in like some kind of personal development. Like I said, I truly believe like Bob Heilig's Legacy Leadership Academy, and now I'm in his Next Level Leadership Academy, is incredible because he used to be in network marketing and now it's his job to basically help you be good at it. Whereas I feel like in Beachbody, like your upline coach and like all the top coaches on the champions page, like they can have all the best intentions to give you a little bit of tips in like a 30 to 60 minute call, but they are just not going to give you the resources to truly transform your business like someone that you pay to do it. So Bob Heilig's Legacy Leadership, I think it's like, it used to, when I paid for it, it was $60 a month, but it was worth every penny. And now the next level one is much more than that. And I think it's worth every amount, because partially it's just like buying a challenge pack where you're like, versus a free group where you're like, okay, I'm in, right? I'm invested. I'm paying this guy. Now I'm paying this guy $200 a month to mentor me. Like I better do his freaking trainings and like get something out of this. And I recommend him. Honestly, I couldn't tell you anyone else. But if you also have some other mentor that you happen to look up to who's doing, I want to make sure that they're legit. Like I know there's some other, like, well, I mean, Melanie Mitro would be one. If you relate to her, I would go with like someone like her, paying her if content is what you want to go with. But I do think that it's worth investing in taking it to the next level if you want this to be something, really big. You're not going to be able to do everything on your own. That's my opinion. But the last part with this was taking your rank advancement into your own hands. And I still remember listening to a Holly Hillier call, actually, that was super motivating, where she was talking about basically making the decision. Like I had to just like, Premier was something that was like, Elite was the goal, Premier was the second goal, and then 1 star was the very backup. I was like, at the very least I can get my husband to 1 star, to Diamond, to get to 1 star. And I remember just getting down to the end and being like, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Like, I'm like, this is not happening. My coaches just aren't figuring it out. Like it's too hard. And starting to throw in the towel. And then I remember listening to this call with Holly, and she was like, you decide. And if you don't feel like you have the coaches in place to get to you to 2 star, then you just need to recruit more coaches. She's like, it's not about them. It's about you. And I was like, oh. Well, it ended up being one of my coaches who got to Diamond, but it just kind of put the ownership into my hands. Like I need to get my husband to Diamond as soon as possible so that my coaches know that it's possible, not only for me to get to Diamond, but then also to get him to Diamond. And I just like stopped waiting. And so I also worked really closely in that push, which is the next slide, is I just set a deadline and was like, I'm going to make this by the end of the year. And my coach, Chris, so I've had one-on-one calls with my coach, Christina, or my way upline, Christina Delgado. And she said, for Diamond, it's better to go fast than go slow, because if you go slow and you sign up those discount coaches slowly, then they start going inactive. And that's like, and then it's just like a wave where maybe you get Diamond for 1 week, but then they start going inactive and then you lose it. So it's almost like you want to just build it fast. So once I set the deadline and I had a one-on-one call with Tracy, my potential Diamond, and I was like, she's on the right leg. She's the closest, like, let's go. And so we had like a heart to heart and was like, what would this mean? I told her what it would mean to me. And I was like, we need to at least try. And I remember her being like, I'll think about it. And then she called me back and she's like, okay, we're good. Let's do it. And so we like had lots of one-on-one calls. We mapped it out. We like pushed together. And sometimes I think we just assume that people are just going to magically, especially if you are an achiever who like went out and did it on your own without anyone telling you or helping you. But sometimes people really need that. And it also means a lot to them that you're taking the time to do one-on-one calls. I actually did a bunch of group calls last year. I would do a call every Sunday with my Emeralds who all said they wanted Diamond. And I quickly realized that only some of them actually were doing what they needed to do to get to Diamond and some weren't. And I also kind of realized that those group calls were beneficial in like building community, but they weren't actually beneficial in like getting that person to Diamond. Really, the one-on-one is how you get, I think you work with people to get to Diamond. I think it's just, that's where you can uncover some limiting beliefs. especially like that course I was telling you about, Bob Heilig, like he really helps you like figure out how to identify your own limiting beliefs and then also identify other people's, so that in those coaching calls, you can call them out on them. Because I truly believe that like 80% of this business is mindset. So you're able to get through it in one-on-one versus when you're in like training mode on like a group call, you're more likely to just throw information at them and then they don't do anything. And then you give them information and they don't do anything. And then it's just like that one-on-one. And I mean, I also just, visioning being at New Leader Conference, it's just non-negotiable to get my husband to Diamond. It was like, there's no way I'm not getting him to Diamond. So my last slide is growing a team is so worth it. And I'm so sad. This is my team at Summit last year. I had 4 of my personally sponsored coaches with me, and we had a bigger upline team. And then this year I was supposed to have like 15 to 18 people, and now we're not going. Well, although on the wake up call today, he kind of alluded to the fact that it might get rescheduled. Anyone hear that? No. Does anyone have any questions?
I did hear it too, or he did kind of like mention it. And then Allie also said like in her talk, oh, make sure you get your success starter because of Summit. And maybe she's just still in that mindset. But I was like, oh, what do you mean? So
yeah,
trying to get my hopes up. Do you wanna, can I unshare this screen? I just want to see everybody.
Oh, here I can.
Yeah, that was awesome. First of all, thank you so much. I told my girls, I was like, she's super organized and way more with it than I am. So like, you guys are going to love her, because I have a lot of girls who love system and planning and all that good stuff. So thank you for bringing that. But yeah, what questions do you guys have? I have a few, but I want to leave it open for others.
What's happening on the chat? You guys chats a lot.
Oh yeah, I should have said like they're loving you. The chat was blowing up the whole time.
Someone else did P90X. Awesome.
I see Sarah had a question. I know she has a sleeping baby with her. What are your recommendations on what you give to new coaches and how soon?
So we actually this has been a work in progress, but I'm happy to share the system with you if you want. I send a welcome email, and in the welcome email, I say, like, so excited you're on the team. Just know that anyone you add will be part of our challenge group to start. Our next challenge group starts this date. And then I basically just have them fill out a form it's a WooFoo form, and it helps me gauge like their interest level, basically, like, are they committed? And it helps me get to know them too if I don't know them very well. Like, what do they do for a job? What are their interests? What is like their goal? Like, do they have an income goal? How many hours a week can they commit? Like, things like that. And then anything else you want to know about me. And so once they fill out that form, it prompts me to go to the next email. So if they don't fill out the form, I might text them, be like, hey, did you get my email? And like, I don't really start, honestly, I don't start the process until they've actually initiated doing something back, because I've been burned where I spend a lot of time on a new coach and they don't do anything. But most people do fill out the form at least. And then once they fill out the form, then I send them an email, and it either has the link to a replay of the new coach call, or it tells them when our new coach call is. So we haven't been doing the new coach call every single month. We've been a lot of times sending the replay, but we did do one today, and we actually just changed it a little bit. So the first 2 steps that we tell people they need to do is, first we say that we want them to help one person with a challenge pack in their first week. And I know some people even say in their first day, but we say first week, and then we say first month. That doesn't work. It's too long. So first week, and then we say, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to post on social media with a coming out post. And then on my Google Drive, I have a link to like some examples. And then we say, you're going to make a list of 20 people and invite them. And so the new coach call that we did today, we used to have a new coach call that had more information than we needed to do, but today on the call, I think it was perfect. We started with, we literally just gave them like some high level advice on like how to, like keeping a perspective that you're a beginner, that you're you know, this is all new to you, but like we're going to put you in our team page, but we just want you to start with these 2 steps. So we outlined like, here's how you do the social media post. We even did like, here's how you do the call to action. Here's what kind of photo, like we made it very clear, like this is exactly what you do. And then we did, okay, now make the list of 20 people. I said the first 10 people should be like your friends and family, like people who like you chat with regularly, who it's not going to be weird if you say like, hey, do you want to, like, I'm going to do this new program. Like, do you want to keep each other accountable and do it? And then the next 10 people or more is anyone who liked or commented on that first social media post. And then we encourage them to like start a conversation with those people, or we give them an exact invite being like, hey, thanks for the support on my post. Really appreciated it. Like, would you be interested in all getting information on the boot camp? And so we did that today, and we mostly just focused on explaining those 2 things. And the feedback we got was like, oh my gosh, this feels so like, yes. And I kept saying, I'm like, just make sure you just do these 2 things. Like, that's it. Cause we used to give them like all these like we would give like high level social media tips about like how to sprinkle in your journey and how to do this. But I think it was just like, I've had people be successful with our old way we were doing it. But the feedback I got so far was like, just by giving them the 2 first steps that are so simple, they're like, okay, they feel empowered. Like, I know I can do these 2 things. And we also warned them on that call, like that most people aren't going to say yes. Like, I think that's really important, is to warn people that like, this is a long haul game, and that those invites are seeds planted. And that I basically told them like, 1 out of these 20 people, like that's how you're going to get your 1, like hopefully. Right. So I like try to like basically be pretty blunt with that. So once they do that, then if they do those 2 things, then they earn a call with me, one-on-one call. And in the one-on-one call, I'd get more into like their vision and like get to know them better and like their goals. And maybe if they've already if they've already sold 1 challenge pack, then I would bring up things like Success Club and Emerald, and everyone has their own, I mean, you'll hear from all top coaches, different ways to onboard, but this way has been pretty successful for me. And then I put them in like a coach workshop that gives them action items every day, a training. But I've had I've had 3 success starters in this year already, 2 this last month, through this process. And I'm really hands-on with people in the beginning, because I don't like, I recruit like 3 to 4 working coaches a month right now. I want to be more than that, but so I just really encourage people to like know that I'm there for them one-on-one in the beginning. I even like have them I'll review their social media posts, because I find a lot of people will do their first social media post and they'll be like super vague in their call to action. Like they'll be like, if you're interested, send me a DM. And people are like, I don't even know what you're asking. And so it's like very important to like make sure that first post, they get like some traction by being pretty clear by like you reviewing it. So that's worked for me. I know that like top coaches, they bring in like 20 people or 40 people a month, and there's no way they could do that, but they probably don't have as high of like success rate. I don't know, but that's been working pretty well. So that was a really long response to your question.
What other questions do you have for Nicole? I want to respect.
Okay, I have a question. Mm-hmm. Can you guys hear me okay? Because my sound's not working very good on my phone.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So you basically are speaking to my soul, but I already know like kind of what my plan is moving forward. I can relate to you like on pretty much everything you've said. I've blown up Brooke's personal inbox while I've been listening to this, so she'll have lots of messages to go listen to. But so when you raced to get your husband to Diamond, when you decided to, did you, like, I'm a shaky Diamond, I'm not even holding Diamond right now. I technically have more than enough coaches to hold it. I just don't have the emeralds for it. Did you have your own personal solid Diamond account before you raced to him? Because I kind of started racing him to Diamond, and he has like 8 coaches, 7 or 8 coaches under him, but I stopped because then my account was dropping. Do you kind of understand what I'm asking here?
It is hard because I'd say it took me quite a while, because every time I got a good coach, I would put them under me. because I wanted them to be my future diamonds or emeralds. And so I wasn't putting anyone good under him for a while. And so I wasn't really able to get him any emeralds for a while. So I actually ended up putting my mom under him, and I got my mom to emerald, which is also kind of hard because then she only has 2 people. I actually have like one of my best friends is like obsessed with Beachbody, but she's not going to be a coach ever, but she just always orders. So I had her switch to under my mom. So, and then I like added another person under my mom to make my mom emerald. So then I only needed 1 emerald under my husband. But I mean, I was starting to get, by the time in the beginning of 2019, when I was like kind of a more shaky diamond, that's when I did start picking up momentum in recruiting. And I also got really good at having people sign up for discount as the discount coach from the get-go. I don't do it every time. I give people the option. I don't just automatically sign them up as coaches. I give them I tell them the benefits. But that's really what helped me get him to diamond, was signing up lots of discount coaches under him. And then I finally decided to put 1 rock star under him, and she like took off, and I regretted that she was under him and not me, but that's what happens, right? It's hard. You got to recruit more people if you want to, you want your first one to be more stable. I'd say at least 2 emeralds on each leg. Anything else?
Do you have anything you recommend for personal development right now? I know you just said like Bob Heilig. I didn't know if you had any like books or podcasts, or you did say Melanie Mitro, but.
Yeah, I listen to Women Inspiring Women. I recently started listening to, I go through phases with who I like. Payday with Ray Ray is really good. She actually coaches like coaches, not us kind of coaches, but like she's not a beach. I think it's sometimes nice to have some podcasts that aren't Beachbody coach related, because you get some really good ideas. Like she's the one who's really like hammering in the neat, like getting really into your, like if you want to grow on Instagram, at least being super niche, and like having your profile have like a very like people know what you're offering when you go to it. That's called Payday with Ray Ray. But I listen to everyone from Melanie Mitro, although I feel like I've heard a lot of her stuff now. She kind of repeats herself. And then I read The Compound Effect this year for the first time, and I really liked that one. Or I listened to it. I only really listen to audio to personal development. Otherwise I can't finish it. Oh, another one, actually, for personal development, a book for sure I recommend if for leadership is The Freakishly Effective Leadership for Network Marketers by Ray Higdon. And he talks, have you read it? Yeah. I mean, the community part, which you talked about on my call is a big part. Is that like, that is partially what inspired me to do, like when I named my team Run the World, now we have like a run chat on Fridays that's like completely unrelated to the business, so that everyone who's not a runner, like a runner as in like wants to build a business, feels included in our community, if they're a runner, like a running runner, because that's who I attract. I'd say like 90% of my team is runners.
All right, any other questions for Nicole?
I actually have a quick question. Going off of the running comment that you had made earlier on, that you said you did, how you attracted all those runners and you had a group. I just want to know like what that looks like. Was it like a free group that you had, kind of like a blog? I know you said you did some blogging earlier on, but how did you get that group set up and what did you do to attract those?
So the blog is where I attract my runners. I get like, I don't even know, at least like probably 5 people that's like, they usually switch to me as their coach a month from my blog that like find me and they're like, I want to combine. I just do like, I add value like with like lift for and running hybrid, and then I do it and I share my results. But the group was when I was pregnant with twins, I created a group called happy and healthy post-pregnancy and postpartum. And essentially I just put it out there that like, if anyone else was pregnant, then if they wanted to go through this community, I just created a Facebook page. And I was shocked by how engaged everyone was, because I think because we were all pregnant. I think it really helps, because once I transitioned to a motherhood account afterwards, and everyone was like, I'm too busy for that. Like when they were pregnant, they were like, I want to talk about being pregnant. And then once they had the baby, they were, and it was partially because it faltered off. But I ran like it was an ongoing group, but I ran little mini challenges. Like we did a squat challenge, and we did a walk a day challenge. We did a water challenge. And it was all free. And actually Tracy, my diamond, came from that group. So it was definitely good for relationship building.
I love that. All right.
Yeah. I think I heard it on a national wake up call when I was thinking about getting pregnant, and I was like, I like that idea. And then it took a lot. Facebook groups take a lot of commitment though, because like I said, since we all kind of fell off, I tried to redo it and no one even really saw my posts. Like it's a big commitment, and the more, yeah.
I remember I did one for Levi, my first pregnancy, and I was so new to coaching it all, and it like went well, but kind of, yeah, once you die off, like it's hard, once you have the baby and it's like, you're thrown into a whole new world, and it's like, how's everyone doing? It's like, no one really kind of responded again. It was just kind of died off. So it is definitely a commitment of,
I definitely think if you're planning to get pregnant though, you should do it, because
I'm pregnant. I'm like, this sounds like a good idea. And I'm in a group with like thousands of women, and there have been posts about fitness and stuff. And I try to just engage with those people, but I'm like, that'd be kind of fun to,
and it's also easy to advertise your free group in another free group, because you're like, it's free, it's a community, right? Yeah. And then you're providing value. And then like I advertised it in a running mom group that I was in, and I said, hey, I'm doing, and so I got a lot of runners who were moms who are pregnant. And it's nice because you can go into the program, like that's basically the way that I grew my business while I was pregnant with twins, and I was not working, can't get good results, and not working out as much.
Cool. Thank you.
That was like just an example of just getting creative and doing something new.
Okay, before we go, I do want to know I think I kind of know it, but your big scary goal for 2020, and if do you have like a date or a deadline, or, I mean, you've made 2-star, like I loved how you laid out 2-star and how all that works. So
I want to be elite by summit, but it's not looking good right now. What do we have, like 4 weeks until? Honestly, a lot of my girls who are going for diamond are full-time working moms, and this quarantine situation with the kids at home has been a huge damper in that. An excuse. For sure elite, but I said I wanted to be top 50 elite, and I want to make over 100,000 this year. Those are my goals.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, before we go, can we get a picture too?
Yeah.
I know some of you look amazing. So, 1, 2, 3, cheese. So thank you so much, Nicole. That was awesome. And I know I have a lot of great takeaways, and I can't wait to, and like the chat was like blowing up the whole time. So I know a lot of what you had to say resonated with so many of us, and I appreciate you taking the time. So.
Oh, yay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Make it a good night, guys.
Good night.